All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks everyone for joining today's information session on the New Commons Challenge. My name is Stefan Verhulst. I'm the co-founder of GovLab, and I'm delighted to have you all join us to learn more about the New Commons Challenge. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, I'm the co-founder of the GovLab, and so let me start a little bit with propaganda about who we are and then also what we try to do. And today's session is mainly focused on what we hope to establish with the New Commons Challenge, which is a new way to establish data commons that can be used for public interest AI, specifically, of course, in the context of localized decision-making and humanitarian response as well. As mentioned, the GovLab is an action research center, so we are based in New York, and our focus is to focus on how do we change the way we make decisions, leveraging new technologies and new methods. And as part of that, of course, we've also been focusing on how do we leverage data, and now more and more AI, in ways that can transform the way we make decisions as it relates to public interest challenges. How do we change the way we use data and AI to identify problems, to address some of those problems, but also design responses and public services as such? And by doing that work, we came to the realization that if we want to start using data for addressing societal challenges, the big challenge is having access to data. And that's why we started a few years ago, together with support from Microsoft, the Open Data Policy Lab, which is a lab and an initiative that really tries to focus on how do we provide access to data in a responsible way, but also in a more systematic and sustainable way so that we can start leveraging that data to address critical public needs. And of course, within the context of AI, it also means how do we provide access to data that can be used by AI for public interest applications. Next slide. Now, today, we're going to focus on the New Commons Challenge, which is an initiative that we just launched together with an amazing group of partners, because we are not launching this by ourselves. And we're launching this with mainly two partners, including Direct Relief and the Institutional Data Initiative at Harvard Law School Library. And we also have UNESCO as being our international observer and partner in how we go about the New Commons Challenge. Next slide. Now, a little bit, and today I'm joined with two of GovLabbers. On the one hand, Andrew Zahranek and Hannah Chavez, who both will explain a little bit more about the challenge. But I'm also delighted to be joined by Andrew Schroeder, who is our partner from Direct Relief, where he is the Vice President of Research and Analysis, and will explain a little bit more by what we mean by data in the context of data commons, and also what are the kinds of use cases that we hope to enable by providing this challenge. Next slide. Now, as I mentioned, a little bit of background on why and how we ended up initiating the challenge. As mentioned, the Open Data Policy Lab mainly focuses on how do we provide access to data in ways that is responsible, but also more systematic. And over times, we have worked on multiple waves of data. And more recently, of course, we've been working on the question, to what extent can AI either support open data by making it more easily accessible through, for instance, conversational mechanisms, but also how can open data become the part of the data that is being used for particular public interest use cases. And so that's what we call the fourth wave of open data, where we see this interplay between open data and generative AI playing out both in terms of using Gen AI to improve open data, but also open data that can be used to improve the way Gen AI addresses public interest use cases by augmenting it or by, for instance, supporting RAG applications as such. And the key lesson from doing that work, which involves having held multiple meetings and also started working on making data AI ready, for instance, one of the key lessons is that we really need to move beyond open data and really adopt a new paradigm of data commons, where data, and especially AI-ready data and high-quality data, is made available for augmenting generative AI training sets, but also is done in a way that aligns with principles of participatory governance or is made available in ways that supports the commons as well. And that's what, next slide, what we mean by data commons, which are basically our collaboratively governed data ecosystems. So we really want to enable data ecosystems that are designed to pool and provide responsible access to high quality data sets and that can be used for public interest AI applications, which is also why more recently we, and again, together with Andrew, we released an opinion piece where we really make the case that data commons is kind of the missing infrastructure at the moment for public interest artificial intelligence. Now, what do we mean by the data? Next slide. When we talk about data commons, and what do we hope to unlock by enabling this new commons challenge? And in order to answer that question, I give the floor to Andrew, who can tell us a little bit more about the opportunity that we currently have in order to really unlock diverse data sets. Over to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Stefan. So as you said, there's 2 tracks that we have settled on for the New Commons Challenge in terms of the kinds of applications that are most of interest and where we'll be looking for the most important sort of potentially breakthrough projects. And I think they're linked in some ways, or could be, but the 2 are around localized decision making and humanitarian response. And I'll start with humanitarian response because I am a humanitarian responder. You know, there's been a tremendous amount of pressure and interest over the last several years in opening up AI applications for humanitarian agencies in terms of improving scalability, precision, a number of other sort of ways to improve analysis in humanitarian organizations. And often we find that data is really the missing piece in all of this, that being able to focus specifically on communities in need, in focusing on you know, the kinds of archives that humanitarian organizations have built up over many years. There's a tremendous amount of data that is not necessarily circulated in the general internet that is important to think about in terms of how you actually build trusted AI systems that are trained on the most specific, useful information possible. And I think as you get into areas of neglected languages, marginalized communities, ways to make sure that there's an appropriate governance structure for inclusion of data of many different kinds, right? So like we often think of this as structured data, principally large public databases, and that's definitely one aspect of data commons. But you know, AI unlocks multimodal and non-traditional data sources in really new ways. So thinking about text data, audio and video data, imagery, potentially geospatial data, ways that we can kind of look across a wide array of different data sources that people use in order to think about their decision making, which may have been produced as the result of kind of after action reports or ways to sort of file case studies over time, but which you know previously may not have actually even been thought of as data sources because they don't fit into the traditional kind of structured data source you know modalities. So that I think is an important idea here. Then to the point on localized decision making, the idea here is that it's broad spectrum. So you know, we're not specifying which types of decisions are being made here. So you could imagine this from a variety of different standpoints, from climate adaptation to like how supporting municipal governance to ways that we think about humanities and culture in very specific decisions contexts where the locality is important because the need is for specific data, and the idea being that we need to govern that data in a way that makes it appropriate for AI applications that would support the decisions, and that the decisions are clear as we're trying to read applications. What are you actually attempting to do? But where, again, we're looking for, where are the how does this sort of address a gap in how we've sort of thought of data previously? Language is one of the obvious ones, but there's a lot of other ways that we could think about gaps. And in some cases, they're gaps that are sort of newly emerging based upon the ways that global governance is itself changing, and ways that we need to sort of use AI paired with data commons to be able to address those emerging gaps. So, we can go into more specifics later on, but that's the framework that we're trying to use to approach the judgment around this. And I think it's a pretty exciting moment for how we sort of build truly trusted AI systems fed with the data that's required to maintain them over time.
Great. Thanks so much, Andrew. And also, yes, I think part of this effort is to actually also understand what is the demand and what are the use cases that are currently not met. And so eager for everyone who has a initial idea to really share the concept note and share with us what you're thinking of, so that we can also have a better understanding what might be feasible or what is currently missing as well. Now, with that, let me go to the more details and invite my colleagues, Andrew and Hannah, to explain more about what is the process to apply for the New Commons Challenge, and what are some of the criteria that we will use for evaluating, especially the first phase, which is the concept note phase. Now, before I give the floor, let me also indicate that anyone who has a question, please use the Q&A function of the Zoom platform here, and then we will address your Q&A after Andrew and Hannah have completed their kind of overview. And as I said, eager to hear any questions or any suggestions moving forward as well. Over to you, Hannah and Andrew.
Thanks, Stefan. So first, I'm going to walk us through a few of the logistics for the challenge. Before we dive in, the challenge really has three main goals. The first being to increase access to diverse and high-quality data sets for AI. And so this includes both new and existing data sources. We also aim to demonstrate how data commons can be deployed, managed, and maintained in real life, and create tangible benefits for end users and really foster real-world impact. And as Andrew was mentioning before, we're looking for initiatives that expand access to lots of diverse data sources. So this could be things like text, video, images, audio, and even synthetic data are things that we're interested in. And in our data commons blueprint that you can find on the website, it gives lots of examples of data sources as inspiration to start with. Now, going into the prizes, if you don't mind, next slide. Through the challenge, we're going to be awarding 2 prizes in total that are valued at $100,000 each. So one is for the development of a new data commons, and then the other is to strengthen an existing data commons by making the data AI ready. And there are 2 focus areas of the challenge. Great. And so we're accepting proposals for data commons that focus on one of 2 areas. First being localized decision making, the second being humanitarian and disaster response interventions. What we mean by localized decision making, we're referring to data commons that support actors within a local context, coordinate or make decisions based on a local need. So this could be anything like related to public health or urban planning or even digital twins. For the humanitarian response side of things, we're referring to data commons that can help humanitarian stakeholders or disaster response actors make decisions before, during, or after an emergency. So you can submit to one of these 2 areas, or perhaps your idea touches on both. And the 2 prizes that we're giving out are not specific to each of these. It's 2 prizes total. Now, for possible applicants, Great. While we do welcome applicants across lots of different disciplines, we do feel that applicants from knowledge institutions probably are best positioned for this kind of work. So specifically what we're referring to here are universities, startups, libraries, and AI developers. Just a few eligibility things here, but of course, more information can be found in the rules with lots of more details here. Applicants do need to be affiliated with an established organization, and government entities are not eligible to participate. And this initiative is global in reach. So just looking at the geographical focus, great. We are welcoming submissions from around the world, and more information on this can be found in the rules. However, we are not able to issue prizes to applicants from countries that are sanctioned by the US government. We will only be able to review applications that are in English. However, we are accepting proposals for the creation or the strengthening of data commons that are for non-English languages. So to summarize, what you're proposing can be something that is not in English, but everything that you submit to us will need to be in English. So now Andrew's going to walk you through some of how to actually apply to the challenge.
Thank you, Hannah. And I now have the very exciting task of talking about dates and deadlines. So right now we're in the first phase of the challenge, which started April 14th. We are looking for concept notes that is sort of short descriptions of the opportunity that you are hoping to address by June 2nd. By June 16th, we will invite selected applicants to submit full proposals, details to follow. And by July 14th, we will ask for all proposals to be submitted. As I mentioned, there are two basic phases to the challenge. We're currently in phase one. We're asking right now for information on the opportunity that you hope to address, the data that you have available, the institution that you represent. All this is essentially very basic, and it can be submitted in a short form that is accessible through our website, or downloaded and then submitted to an email address, which I'll provide at the end of this presentation. The second phase, we will ask you for more specific details about the approach that you're planning on taking. This will be reviewed by an expert jury, which I'll also provide more information on. Details on this format will be provided to those who are recommended to the second phase. But right now, as I mentioned, we're in the first phase of proposals. This is seeking to understand the opportunity that you have and to really try to capture what it is that we can do with data commons for either localized decision making or alternatively for localized decision making or alternatively for humanitarian response. This is divided into several parts. I'll just go through each part of the form so you understand what is involved. The first part is just seeking information on your team. So this is information on how we can contact you. We're looking for your name, the email address of a lead contact's phone number, and then just certification that you're over the age of 18. We also provide space so that you can indicate a secondary contact in the event that we're unable to reach your primary contact. All the information there is the same. We then ask for some information on the institution that you represent. As my colleague Hannah mentioned, we are requiring that all applicants be affiliated within an institution as a means of ensuring that the proposal can continue post-funding period. So right now, we ask for the name of the legal entity, the entity's website, the institutional address, and then a brief description from you about what kind of organization it is. Is that a nonprofit, a charity, a university, a research institution, a startup, etc. We then ask you for your concept notes specifically. So this includes information on which award that you're applying for, the kind of data that you're hoping to use for your data commons. My colleague Hannah provided some examples, that being text, audio, images, video, statistics, and then a description of actually what your data commons is. The next parts of the concept note will be those that are specifically evaluated by our staff. This includes asking about the opportunity, What is the problem that you hope to address? The data. What data does your team have access to or could reasonably secure access to in order to spur this data commons for AI development? The relevance. How does this proposal provide a pathway for improving humanitarian response or local decision making? And then finally, governance. How will this be commonly governed and operated in the public's benefit? All of this, again, is just trying to get a 500-foot view of sort of the initiative. It's trying to understand in very brief language what it is you're trying to do. So for each of these, we provide specific word counts, that being 800 words or less. Again, I think in the second phase, we would ask for more detail and more specification. Lastly, we just ask for a letter of institutional support from all applicants. This can be fairly simple and straightforward. All we're looking for is a brief letter on institutional letterhead signed by someone in a senior position indicating support for the proposal and that your institution is aware of what is happening. And then finally, just indicating that your information is correct and that you've reviewed the rules. Very short third part. As I noted on the, not the prior slide, but the slide prior to that, we are looking at 4 basic criteria for evaluation, that being opportunity, data, relevance, and governance. The weighting that we put on each of these is displayed on the screen. So opportunity is of highest importance to us, with the data being next, and so on and so forth. There are specific questions that we provide in the concept note as well as in the rules that provide clarity on what we mean by each of these. So for example, for opportunity, we're trying to understand what is the opportunity that you're trying to address. Do you have any creative or unconventional approaches? Does the approach align with one of the approaches or data types outlined in our blueprint that we provide? For data, we're really trying to understand, does the proposal indicate that the team has or is able to secure the data that is needed for this data commons? Is the data or its proposed application in any way new or non-traditional? Would the insights provided fill a known gap in the research? For governance, we're trying to understand how governance mechanism provides a pathway for localized decision making. Oh, sorry, for relevance, my goodness. Relevance provides a pathway for localized decision making or humanitarian response. And does it address any urgent needs felt by any stakeholders? And then finally, governance. Will it be governed responsibly? We're trying to understand who will be involved in overseeing the data and making the strategic decisions about how it's used. For the second phase of the project, those being applications or concept notes that are recommended to submit a full proposal, we're trying to recruit a fairly global and diverse cohort for evaluations. So I provided on your screen some of the judges that have agreed to evaluate proposals. These come from people from universities, from UN agencies, from different NGOs and international organizations. For localized decision making, similarly, we are trying to represent a wide breadth of experts across disciplines, across domains, who can really help evaluate where there is an urgent need for a data commons, and also evaluate the specific approaches identified in terms of building a data commons. So these are just the 2 judging groups. More information on this will be provided once we reach the second phase. We'll also try to publish information on each of the judges on our website within the coming weeks. Last note from me before I let you answer all your questions, and I see there are a few that have already been developed or people raising their hands, is some additional resources. To help you with developing your concept note, we really highly recommend that you look at our Data Commons Blueprint. Link is provided on your screen. This provides our research in terms of how we think open data and generative AI can intersect and sort of provide value. Our second is our inspirational examples. These are a series of as a living repository that we've just sort of posted on Google Sheets that includes various examples of ways that data commons are already being used for generative AI. So again, you can feel free to use either of these resources as inspirational material, as a way of trying to understand what we're looking for, and as a way of trying to better conceptualize the role that data commons can provide in AI development. Oh, sorry, and I have one more resource, very important one. It's the facts page. So we've developed a quick facts page for answering any questions that you may have. Obviously, we hope to further develop this and to update this post this call based on sort of the questions that you all provide. But this hopefully will provide you with some information on obvious questions in terms of how to apply, what's the focus of the challenge, what are we seeking to do. We'll again also try to push this on our website and share this with applicants post this call. So you should be able to either scan the QR code or use the link provided on the slide deck.